Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. This is week 5, following a big victory by our Red Raiders against Lanier County last Friday, and then leading into our first region matchup against Thomasville Bulldogs. I want to introduce myself as Brent Johnson, your host of the Coaches Show, along with Austin Wilder and Braden Griffiths, as they're joining us this week. I want to thank Shady Grove Church last week for providing a meal, pregame meal for our young men as they're again prepared for that game against Lanier County. And we'll just jump right into Lanier County Bulldogs. We traveled over there. It's been a couple years. Somehow we got out of the rotation. It wasn't every other year. I think it's been 3 years ago that we've been there. And Lanier came in 0-4, I believe, on their schedule, so they was hungry for a win. We came in 2-1. I talked the week before about it possibly being a trap game for us, maybe being a little overconfident going into it. That's always possible at every level, from a mental standpoint, from these kids, because they see the record and they see this and that and the other, and again, it can be tough. And we went over there. Boy, the weather was perfect. We set up outside. You saw some of the shots we were able to do, and just one more quick plug for my crew. I've got a great 4-student crew on my broadcasting team. We carried everything with us that Friday night and did replays, had multiple camera views, some great audio. I thought it turned out pretty good, and I appreciate their effort. As we were in the visitors' stands, which is kind of cool. We're right there with the band, right there with our fans. And again, the weather was perfect for a football Friday night. Maybe 10 degrees cooler, and it would have been absolutely right. About another 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll see some of that. But traveled over to Lakeland, Georgia, and faced the Bulldogs. Coach, I felt like that was the longest first quarter I've ever been a part of. Maybe the longest game I've ever been a part of that started on time. So tell us a little bit about the mindset going into the game, and then as the game started and progressed, did it seem as slow as it did to us in the stands?
Yeah. Well, the mindset going into it was exactly what you said earlier. It looked like a trap game waiting to happen, and kids they see the record, they see everything, and it's like we got to talk them out of it. Don't play as if you're playing for a state championship every Friday, and play like an SEC schedule, like Coach Dad says all the time. We treat our schedule like an SEC schedule. You can lose every week if you don't watch out. As far as the game, I agree with you. It's probably one of the longest games that haven't went into overtime that I've ever been a part of. And it has to do with a lot of passing game out of both teams, but it also had to deal with a little bit of penalties here and there, little scuffles here and there, But other than that, I think we handled everything the right way. We just gotta get it done as far as on the field first before we handle anything outside of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was some penalties, the passing, incomplete passes. You talk about some penalties, some big penalties. I think we had 3 touchdowns taken off the board. Did I count that right? Mm-hmm. A return, and was one of them returned or both on the offensive plays? I know it was a run.
One was a good punt return.
That was it.
And then the other 2 were
offense. So that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
They say you could potentially call a hold on just about every play. I like to think that the referees wouldn't call a hold that has nothing to do with the play, but on occasion maybe they do. It was difficult for us to see everything, even us in the stands, the level we were at. I guess you can go back. The film don't lie. I'm sure you can go back and see those types of things. But man, neither team could really get in a rhythm, to be honest, and that didn't help either. And when you slow things down like that, it was just. It was just a really long first quarter, long half, a 2-hour half, a little over 2 hours. Before we got to the third quarter, it was 2.5 with halftime, so it was crazy. But talk to me from the defensive side of the ball. Once again, our defense, they stood strong. For 3 quarters, we held them basically to 8 points, and then we gave up a play or two. Their quarterback was very active, best player on the field for them. Obviously, he had some wheels. He could spin it. He could throw that ball nice and tight for 25, 30 yards, and again he was able to make some plays. So from a defensive what stood out to you overall, and just talk to us a little bit about that.
Defensively, going to the game, we knew that he was their guy. We knew that they wanted to give him the ball. He's going to touch the ball every play. I mean, whether it's passing or running the ball, they wanted to give it to him. So that was, we were feeling them out at first because we didn't really know what exactly they wanted to do. People that are 0-4, you think they're going to go around slinging the rock, or they may stick to a normal game plan. But we knew that he was going to get the ball in his hands and he was going to try to make something happen. That first drive, he got out on us a little bit. Really didn't, when you go into a game, you have a plan A and a plan B. And if you get to plan C, something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
So, we went to a game with a plan A, we were going to stop him. But, then as the game progressed, that first drive, we knew after the first drive we were going to have to do something different. We were going to have to not go to plan B, but plan 1 or 2A, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, not really getting away from the game plan. We really never really got away from the game plan. But he's the dynamic athlete. He's gonna make his plays. He's gonna get out and run. And he can sling it. And the thing is, what I was proud of was when he did start scrambling around, we didn't just let people get loose.
Right. And
so that's when you start holding your breath a little bit when he starts running around, and there's no coverage downfield or whatever. I mean, there was twice where he ran around. He did the Johnny Manziel twirling around in the backfield, and he either got a loss or either he got like a 1-yard gain on a scramble because everybody stayed. DBs did a great job of staying downfield, covering their guys. Linebackers, D-line, we try to corral them as much as we can. And that's the thing with him, with guys like that is, yes, you can preach all week, we're going to corral him, we're going to contain him, whatever. But the guy's going to make a play.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you're there when he gets out of all of it.
That's right.
And so, we had people like, Jalen Marion was a pivotal product of that whole game. He was player of the game, I think.
Yeah,
Farm Bureau's
player of the game.
Mm-hmm. And he did a great job of containing him. I mean, he was a spy. In that type of scenario, the linebackers got to be spies. They can't ask a D lineman or a DB to do it.
Right.
So, but they drove it down on us the first time, and then they got a field goal after that, and so we or not a field goal, but they drove it down on us, and going into halftime after that, we didn't want. I told them I didn't want them to score the rest of the game. The rest of the game, there shouldn't be any points on the board. If they do, you will see about it Monday at practice. So, and that's just building a standard.
Sure, absolutely.
And at the end, they get those 2, and that's, you don't want that, that kind of irks your nerves a little bit, but a lot of it has to do with conditioning, and a lot of it has to do with mindset. You got to put away teams. You can't let them. Teams like that are never out of the fight. They're never going to stop fighting. Because they got the one play ability to do something. They got somebody back there spinning the ball. They can make one play happen. That's going to change the momentum of the game. And so we have to learn that when we have them in the cage, keep them in the cage. Yeah. Don't let them out of it. So, but overall defensively, I was proud of them. We fought the whole game, fought through injury. Some of them went through injury, played through injury, and came through it victorious at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it felt like to me that game, it was the closest thing to a Pac-12, old school Pac-12 game I've ever seen. Because it was so long, it was throwing the ball, and it was like, when is it going to stop? When is it going to slow down? And people are going to start running the ball a little bit. And we did that on offense, but on their end, they were trying to sling it around almost every play. So, but defensively, I was proud of them. We just got to put away teams. That's all it is.
Now, from an offensive standpoint, again, some penalties, but what I saw was what I've seen from the Appling game. Man, the potential that we still have on offense. Yeah. We've made some big plays throughout these first 5 or 6 games, including the preseason stuff. But we got some explosive guys, and I hope it's only a matter of time where we just really put it together. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be this week, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But so tell us a little bit about the high points and maybe some low points of our offensive game on last Friday.
Well, the message to the offensive guys was, like you said at the beginning, forget the record, 0-4. Lanier's always scrappy. Lanier's always going to give you their best shot, and they're never going to quit. And it doesn't matter if you get up on them 80-0, they're going to play until the final whistle. And that was our message. And, you know, who better to tell that than Coach O'Brien that's coming from over there,
Right.
knows those guys in and out, and can tell you how they're going to play, and they're going to play hard. So that was our message going into it. You know, you take this game like you would any other game. You know, like we've played the last 4 weeks. You know, they can beat you. They have the chance to beat you. They have good players. They're athletic. So that was just our message. You know, to stay focused on what we do. Offensively, you know, it can get aggravating at times. You know, the penalties when you get a long play and it gets called back. But I think that I think our culture is really showing now in situations like that, because you know you bust a long play, and it's easy to get aggravated. You know, it's easy to say, well, you know, the guy that committed the penalty, well, you know, I messed that one up. Now I'm going to let it affect this play, this play, this play, this play. And you know, I know at one point, you know, we busted. I think Travis got in and busted like a 40-yard run,
Yeah.
and gets called back, and you know. We didn't sense no frustration like, oh, that was on me, you know, and I'm going to do better. And I think we ran it to the same side that the next play and got some positive yardage.
Yes.
So that next play mentality that we've been preaching is, yeah, when things go bad, you know, be frustrated in the moment. But when you line back up for that next play, it's behind us now.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about it. We can't change the call. Now I got to play this play. So our culture is really, you know, starting to show in that next play mentality. You know, I'm playing for my brothers. Hey, that's on me. I take accountability, but now I'm gonna be better. You know, I think I was proud of how the offense played. You know, we moved the ball like we wanted to. We had a game plan. We stuck to it the whole time because it worked from the first play to the last play. It's just, you know, you kind of toning back on some penalties, you know, and that's fixable.
They never really truly stopped us.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And all of it was, like you said at the beginning, all of it's fixable. You know, and we went to work on Monday. You know, we had a list of notes of what we need to get better on, and we really worked on that this week in practice, and seeing improvement. We've had a good week of practice. You know, being homecoming week, you know, all the distractions and stuff like that. We've had a good week of practice correcting those mistakes, and I'm just proud of them, and I'm excited for what the future holds for this group.
Well, you mentioned the culture. I'm glad you did, and you said something earlier about you know, we had there was a couple tense moments on the field that we won't go into detail about, but you know, if you were at the game and you know, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, you know, my kids are coached. I coach my kids to when something happens on the field, potentially we go to the school board. So if you're watching at home or if you replay the film, if you're looking for something, you're probably not going to see it, and we'll say very little about it because those are some things that just need to stay there. But nothing horribly, you know, happened, but there was a potential for that at one time, and I felt our boys handled it very well. And like you said, the culture of the next play, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I physically saw us come back to and just keep going. So that's a really neat thing. I've got a buddy of mine that I contact with over the weekend after the games, and he gives me, and that's something he's been talking about since the beginning. He really can see a difference in the mindset of these kids, even though, you know, mistakes are made and this and that and the other. Just see a difference in this year's team, and that's very promising as we continue to move forward. I noticed one other thing about I felt like the best matchup, offensive and defensive line that we've had all year long, size-wise particularly. You know, it seems like from a size standpoint, it looked as if we've been overmatched in all of our games, which we haven't been overmatched because size doesn't always mean everything. Strength and technique and all that play a part, but again, this was a team. I think I'll just be honest, and nothing. No offense to Lanier County. I felt like we had the best 22 on the field at any given time, and like I said, we probably, you know, we could have put them away a little bit earlier, but we didn't. But we saw how our Raiders responded. They took care of business. Again, defense held in there, and our offense did enough to get it done. And I said earlier, I see that potential of a big play from our running backs, from our receivers, from our quarterback, making some good plays too. So just excited, like you just said, of what's to come. Still early in this season, you know. we're headed into region play this week. We'll touch, he mentioned just a moment ago, we are amongst homecoming pageantry. This is the 4th day of it. Each day has a theme. I won't even necessarily talk about all those, but there's dress-up days. The kids really enjoy it. It is a good thing. It's a tradition. I know that, and it seems like, kids that transfer in here or come in here from other places are like, what is going on? There's nothing like this, out of the state of Georgia, much less even in sometimes the surrounding counties and stuff don't quite get into it like Bacon County does. We'll have today we're recording on Thursday. The parade will be this afternoon, and then we'll have a pep rally Friday morning that'll kind of bring us all together into the gym as one to celebrate our football team, the cheerleaders, the band, again, as we head into it. And it's been a while since the homecoming game has been the first game of region, which is kind of cool. Now, the team we'll be facing this week is a little bit different booger than we have faced so far. We're talking about, and some ranking systems have them at number 1, some have them at number 2, maybe even number 3, but they're definitely one of the top 5 teams in the state of Georgia in our division. And when you hear Thomas County or Thomas County Central as well, you hear Thomasville, you think of good quality football. And in years past, it seems like that's what we run into in South Georgia. They've got a history of winning, a culture of football and other sports, but Thomasville Bulldogs will be coming into town Friday night again for the first region matchup of the year, and I'm excited. I really am. I may be the ultimate optimist, and I have been probably since I've been teaching here at the high school for 17 and a half years now, and I think I have realistic expectations, but I see it. We got a team this year that, again, hadn't hit on all cylinders yet, but we got some dudes. We've got some athletes. We got some kids up front that can get it done, and we can at least scare these teams that's on our schedule over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks. And I anticipate us doing that this Friday night. So what have y'all done this week? Anything different to prepare the boys for what's region game? It's the Bulldogs. I know we won't go into that either, but there was a little bit of history last week or last year with this team with some craziness that happened. So what's been some of the conversations that you would share, and then in preparation, defensively for this week?
Well, just speaking about before the game, leading up into this week or this whole week, is just block out the distractions. There's going to be a lot of distractions, and whether it's homecoming, whether it's the game, everything from last year, this year, which I'm good buddies with a couple of the coaches on their squad, and they said everything's good, we're good to go, it's going to be a good game, and everything like that. But defensively, what we had to prepare for, we haven't had to really prepare for it as much because we see it every day in practice. We can go against our own offense and see tempo and everything like that. But tempo, like serious tempo, like nitro, NASCAR tempo is what we had to prepare for because that's
like Tennessee and Georgia this past week. Tennessee that first quarter, oh my goodness.
Yes. And so that was one thing that we prepared for. We call it fastball drill, where we just line up plays, we line up formations and everything like that, and they run it. And we don't call a timeout. We don't bail them out because sometimes when you play a tempo offense, it's sometimes better not to call a timeout and slow them down because there's obviously something that's about to mess up. Somebody messes up.
Right.
Both sides are getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's going to mess up. There's going to be something where you can gain an advantage on it. Now, and there's some times where you have to call a timeout, and so so it's preparing us for, different packages we have that we can run in, different personnel we can run in, run out, make sure you're yelling it out when you run in so we don't get 12 guys on the field. But preparing for that stuff. And like I told the coaches, if we do this, we're probably going maybe as fast or faster as what they're really lining up in tempo.
Right.
So when they get in the game, they're going to be like, Coach, they're not really going that fast. And so now we're prepared for the tempo. We know how to communicate in chaos is what I said. If you can communicate in chaos, when they slow it down and they're huddling up or they're getting a play from the sideline, now communication should not be a factor at all. It should be bam, 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 this is what I gotta do, and let's go play the next play. But with them, it's gonna be calculated blitzes, calculated coverages, where we're gonna spin it to, what are we gonna do. Everything's gotta be calculated with them because they run RPOs. You gotta show a different picture pre-snap than it is post-snap. So, if there's a guy as an overhang and we know the guy's gonna be reading him, maybe we send him because he knows right off the hoof, I'm gonna hand it or the quarterback's gonna pull it. They got a great quarterback, they got a great running back, they got some good receivers. So, and they got an offensive line that's gonna test us. So, preparing for all that this week, along with it being homecoming and everything like that, it puts a stress on it. But these kids, this team's a whole lot different than any team that I've been a part of here. They're a lot more focused. They're a lot more lazy. Not that the other teams weren't focused at all, but they're laser focused on the task at hand when they step out on the field.
That's right.
When they're in the school building, they love homecoming. They love their classes and everything like that. Once they step between those white lines, it's all football. It's all ball. So, but yeah, preparing for that offense is a little different, a little bit of a different booger than all the rest of them. So,
Right.
But it should be a good game. So it's going to come down to, I said it even before the week even started, I said it's going to come down to stops. This is going to come down to 2 stops on defense. And it's going to come down to special teams. And it's going to come down to how many times we can get the ball back to the offense. That's 3 things it's going to come down to. Because in these games like this, it can be a swing here, a swing there, but eventually you got to stop the swing from swinging.
Right.
If that makes sense to everybody.
Right. No.
And
That's
you got to get a couple. It's going to come down to 2 stops, but it's going to come down to little moments in between those.
Yeah.
Are you going to play the right coverage, play the right leverage? Are you going to be lined up right correctly to stop that formation? Because most defense is alignment. If you line up right, it takes care of a lot of things. If you don't line up right, it's
can hurt you.
it's going to hurt you. So, but that's defensively, that's what we've been focused on.
Well, that gives us additional hope because, again, no offense to our offense, but our defense, I think most people would agree, has been the most consistent in the games that we played. And we got some kids like Jalen Marion and Theron Moore and Merritt. And forgive me, I shouldn't have started calling names because I won't remember all of them, but those guys just fly the ball. Now you got Sandy playing a lot on defense, Mike Dixon, and Barnes kid, Caden Barnes, man, he made a lot of plays the other night. He's just a young kid. They got kids just flying to the ball and playing pretty good defense, and that's what it's going to take. We'll have to play maybe really good defense to get it done, to get what we want Friday night. But that's the expectation, and these are the games, man, that I live for. I look for. I keep thinking that, and I tell these boys, I'll have a conversation. I teach Theron and Jalen, but guys, y'all have a chance again this week to make history, to do something that nobody before you has done before, and become legends. That kind of thing. And that's what it's about. Is you guys put them in a position, in a situation to be prepared for it. And then again, we're talking 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old guys going out and executing. But I believe in my heart that it's possible, that we've got the dudes to get it done. We got a coaching staff that can pull us through. So from an offensive standpoint, it's about execution, right? I mean, that's the key. But what kind of defense are we looking at?
I don't know if the camera saw, but I'm trying to cover up some yawns, so some late nights, some sleepless nights. But it's like you said, we got to go sustain drives. We can't afford 3 and outs and keeping the defense on the field. We got to sustain drives. We got to move the ball down the field, and we haven't really had a problem with that. And I say that, I think I say it every time I come on the coach's show. If we play how we play, if we do what we're supposed to do, we can compete with anybody. Like I've always said, may not win every game, but can compete with everybody. Looking at their defense, great defense, great football team from top to bottom. They got some dudes. Defensive line is big and athletic, and if you know anything about big and athletic defensive linemen, those defensive lines are pretty good. They're big and athletic. Linebackers, they kind of can look like some D linemen. They're big and they're just as athletic. They fly to the ball. DBs, they're long. I have some long DBs, tall DBs, very athletic. Just top to bottom, very good football team. We just have to keep doing what we've been doing, playing Bacon County football. And when things don't go our way every once in a while, let the culture take over. Play the next play. Do what you've been coached to do. Do what you've been taught to do. And offensive staff, I have, a lot of faith in all of our coaches that they're going to put them in the right spot. That they've been coached to do things when things don't go our way. But what better way to prepare for a team like this than going against our defense? You've said some of the names that we get to go against every day, and you hear a lot of times scout give us a look, but fortunate enough, we go against our ones a lot.
Yes.
To prepare us. Like we throw for majority of the time, we like to go one-on-ones and good on good pretty much.
Yeah.
So that prepares us. Offensively, we just want to keep doing what we've been doing. First and foremost, getting the running game going sets up everything you want to do as an offense. It's gonna be tough, but the 5 I have up front on the offensive line, I tell them all the time, I'll go to war with them over anybody. I'll pick them 5 before I pick anybody else. So I have faith in those 5 to establish what we want to do, and then let everything else take over. And I have faith in our quarterback and our running back and our receivers, to get the job done. It starts up front. That's the cliche. Everybody says starts up front, which is true. It's true. Starts up front and let everybody else take over. Just do your job. Don't try and be bigger than what your job is required to do. Don't try and do too much. Just do it. Do your assignment every play. If everybody does their assignment every play, then we can have success. But it all boils down to sustaining drives. We can't go 3 and out and put the pressure on the defense and keep them out there. I feel like we've done that at times. As an offensive staff, you're like, man, you feel bad, but that's adversity, and we've shown time and time again that we can overcome adversity. But it just boils down to doing your assignment. Do what you've been coached to do, and I have faith in all of our guys, offensive and defensive. When their number's called, when it's their time to make a play, they're going to make the play that's needed to help us. Come out early. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and do your job. And that's the message we've been preaching.
Well, again, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
There comes a time when the boys has got to flip that switch,
Yeah.
and they got to put into practice, which y'all have this culture that you're teaching, and much less the X's and O's that y'all are giving them throughout the week. So, again, I'm extremely optimistic. I believe this team has an opportunity to do something special this week. Whether we win or we just we scare them slam to death, I believe we have an opportunity to do that. Because it doesn't get any easier in this region. Even after Thomasville, we get them first. Actually, I think maybe Worth is ranked actually higher, possibly in some of the polls, depending on what you look at and which email you're reading. And then there's always Fitzgerald, that's lingering right there in the top 5 as well. So it's, but this is a good opportunity again for our kids to hopefully we'll take advantage of. One other kid that I wanted to mention, and I saw him at the end of the school day. I think it was Tuesday. He's one of our baseball players too, but Amari, number 12. I tell you what, you talk about a great kid that just gives it all he's got on both sides of the ball. He plays mostly on defense, but I know you have some offensive packages for him to be able to get the ball and do some things. But man, he is typically around the ball, and so I wanted to shout out to him for he's had a good game the last couple games. So, but yeah, just excited about this week. Amongst all the festivities, homecoming will start. The ceremony will begin at 7 p.m. So you need to come out, get your seat maybe a little bit earlier than you normally would, and so we'll get that stuff going. We're crowning a homecoming king and queen, and then we're going to kick it off at 7:30 under the lights right here. We always encourage you to come out. If you can't make it for whatever reason, if you're shut in or if you got some folks out of town that would like to watch, we'll be broadcasting the ceremony as well as the game, obviously, live on the NFHS network. And we do appreciate our subscribers. I think we had over 100 folks tune in, and that's not just Raider Nation just tuning in. Those subscriptions, they're good for Pierce County, they're good for Ware County does it. A lot of well over half the schools in the state of Georgia, and then across North Florida, the country, are part of this broadcast. So you're able to tune into a lot of different things. But well over 100 folks tuned in live at some point during that game and watched our Red Raiders last Friday night. So we encourage you to be there. Again, because a lot goes into this. It's football players, obviously, and their coaching staff, but we have 135, 140 strong in the band, and the cheerleaders. Just again, a lot goes into this effort to continue to build our football program and build our athletic department, which again supports our school, and ultimately it's a big deal to our community, especially our small community. So we want to say thank you to our community, all the sponsors and all that good stuff, and you'll see some advertisements on the show to be sure to thank those folks that donate their time, their energy, their money to this program to support with materials and food and other things. I know these coaches are very thankful for that and grateful for that. So guys, I appreciate you again for joining us this week. Coach Wilder, Coach Griffiths, and for myself, Brent Johnson, again, thank you for joining us again on this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show.